Hello everybody, it is I, Serbidian, once again welcoming you aboard the hype train. We are rapidly approaching the end of the line, although it looks like the release may be a little bit delayed still, because Steve's having a bit of trouble, but oh well, we'll find something else to do in the meantime. Let's get stuck into the second last page now. So, Ground Forces Text Summary. The Temp as Text button on the Formation Templates tab of the Ground Forces window will pop up a window with a text version of the selected template composition, which can be copied using Ctrl-C and pasted into an AAR. Format is as follows. The Total Force Text button on the Order of Battle tab of the Ground Forces window will pop up a window with a text version of your entire Ground Force, which can be copied using Ctrl-C and pasted into an AAR. Format is as follows. So, once again, it's basically kind of the same thing that we have for spaceships. It's just a way to extract summaries of ground forces to use in external storytelling. So that's cool. Now, adding your own commander name themes. Adding your own commander name themes was not possible in VB6. This has been added in C#, where the theme follows the pattern of first name, surname, with the option for both male and female names. There's a process there, so you create 3 text files with 1 name per line for male first names, female first names, and surnames. There is no naming convention for file names. Click the second button shown below. Enter the theme name in an input field that pops up. Enter the male names file using the standard Windows file dialog box. Enter the female name file using standard Windows dialog box, and select the surnames file using the standard Windows file dialog box. Do they all have to be bound together? I'm not sure. Oh well. The new commander name theme is added to the database for the current game and all future games. So, very nice, basic, simple. So similar to the to the all name themes. But now we have one for commanders specifically, which is good. I also like that it's up to the player to decide what kind of names are good. So I fully expect people to be sharing name files and name file blocks amongst one another. So that is going to be absolutely fantastic, especially name themes. So now that we can add them as text files, yeah. I really look forward to the kinds of name stacks that people can come up with. Next, here is an example of the Battlestar Greek commander name theme. So this is added for Steve's test campaign, mixes names from Battlestar Galactica with names from Greek mythology. So that's why it's called Battlestar Greek. It's a little weird, but matches the theme for the campaign, so it's going to be one of the standard themes. Here is a sample of some randomly generated names. I don't know, I kind of like it. Calliope Crisis, Tamara Kelly. It's got a nice mix of regular names and some really interesting ones like Thalassa Agamemnon. So I like it. It's interesting. It's new, but it's interesting. Okay, let's move along. Ship achievements. All the medal conditions that potentially apply to ship commanders are recorded for the ship as well. This is maintained separately from the ship commander, so when a commander moves on to a new ship, the current ship retains its achievements, which will continue to increase under the next commander. A ship does not need a commander for the achievements to be recorded. Currently, the recorded ship achievements include the following. So, tonnage destroyed, targets destroyed, damage taken, various discoveries, combat drops done, salvage is done, and stabilization completed. So basically all the stats that a ship kind of wants to concern itself with. The ship total for each of the above is displayed on the Ship Design Display tab under the Ship Overview tab on the Naval Organization window. If a ship has an assigned mothership, the parasite still gets the credit, but the assigned mothership receives a separate credit flagged with SG for strike group. Separate achievement entries are shown for the carrier itself and the strike group, even if they are the same achievement. So if a Battlestar has destroyed 10,000 tons of shipping directly, and its Vipers have destroyed 20,000 tons, the achievement list for the Battlestar will show military shipping tonnage destroyed 10,000, military shipping destroyed SG 20,000. So that's good. That way carriers don't get gypped out of the whole business. So, yeah, cool. Next, we have a very interesting change, prototype components. When designing components in the Create Research Project window or the Turret window, you have the option of the Prototype button instead of the Create button. Prototype components are researched instantly and are available in the Class Design window, where they will appear with the P suffix. There is a display toggle on the Class Design window for prototype components. Prototypes can be obsoleted to remove them from the display. In this case, they will only appear if both the obsolete and prototype options are checked. On the turret window, prototype energy weapons will be displayed with a P suffix. Any turret containing a prototype energy weapon can only be a prototype. The Create button will be unavailable. If a class contains a prototype component, it will be displayed with a P suffix on the class tree and in the class summary on the class design window. A shipyard cannot be retooled for a class that contains prototype components. Prototypes will allow you to try out different class designs without having to research all the potential components. So I guess that kind of makes my ship calculator basically redundant. But this is kind of like a step into SM territory, because with SM mode you can instantly develop a component and instantly research the tech, and then you can put it on your ship, give it a tryout and stuff like that. But this also stops you from being able to use the component that you instantly do without also needing to have SM mode enabled. So it's really good for when you're not really sure if a bunch of different engines are going to be suitable. So you just prototype all of them and mix and match and see how you go and play around with things. So I really, really like this change. It's going to be really interesting, especially because it's just going to be really, really interesting. So I definitely approve of prototype components. Alright, next up, assigned mothership display. So Steve was currently playing his Battlestar Galactica campaign and found it difficult to keep track of which mothership was the parent of each survey fac. Therefore, there is now an assigned mothership as a field on the ship display window, and also an assigned mothership name and fleet in the summary at the top of the fleet tab on the naval org window. So you can see that all there. So that's good. That means you're going to be able to see if a fighter actually has an assignment or not. So yeah. All right. Next up, going back to prototypes a little bit. So the Create project now has a Show Next Tech checkbox. When the box is checked, you will see the next tech that can be researched in the design options. For example, if you have researched 12 centimeter and visible light for lasers, then checking the box will add 15 centimeters and near ultraviolet to the design options. When using the next tech option, only prototype components can be created. Prototype components created when the Show Next option is active will be classed as future prototypes and will have an FP suffix. There's also an additional expansion on prototypes, researching prototypes. If you select a prototype component on the class design window that can be created with current technology, i.e. not a future prototype, you will see a research proto button appear. Clicking this turns the prototype into a research prototype, which has an RP suffix on the class window. Research prototypes will appear in the research tab of the economics window in their appropriate research field. They can now be researched like any other component, except they are still available in class design as a prototype until the research is complete. At that point, the prototype flag will disappear. If that was the last prototype in a class, that class can thereafter be tooled in a shipyard. The combination of this and previous details means that any component can be in one of four states: a normal component, a current prototype, a future prototype, and a research prototype. Various prototype changes means that you can build a prototype class design using prototype components and then research all the components, making the class available for use. Especially because you can now also do it from within the ship window. So if you remember from my various campaigns as well that I put up on YouTube, so there have been a couple of times where, like, for example, I've got the engine tech and I've got all the techs for a ship, but I'm missing, say, one piece of tech that I'm waiting for. So I go ahead and research all the components, but then I have to wait around for that one. So I've got a ship design that's sitting in there that I can't tell from viable to a non-viable, and I've got components that, and I'm trying to fit, and I have to try and remember which components I'm actually waiting for, especially if it's been a while since I last played that game. So the component system, yeah, I'm loving it. It's looking more and more fantastic the more I hear of it. Yeah, it's looking absolutely fantastic. I love it. It's great. All right. Last little quick thing on diplomacy. Again, hopefully for good this time. If a non-spoiler NPR has a relationship of neutral or higher with another race, it will generally avoid approaching banned bodies. An NPR will decide for itself which bodies are banned, but in general, these will include bodies that have an alien race population of approximately 10 million or more, bodies that are moons of any bodies in step 1, bodies that are moons and share the same parent body as a body in number 1, and bodies on which the NPR already has a population will be exempt from the above rules. So basically, it'll try and keep away from your colonies. NPRs will not create populations on banned bodies and will not attempt to conduct geological surveys on these bodies. The NPR will not generate points of interest within a few million kilometers of banned bodies. It is still possible that NPR ships will approach due to other considerations, such as the moving between 2 points unrelated to them, but in general, this should prevent the VB6 situation where NPR battle fleets make port visits to your homeworld. The banned bodies list is updated at game launch and during each construction phase. Banned bodies do not exist for populations of races with which the NPR has a hostile relationship. If there are 2 populations on a planet, one of which is hostile to the NPR and one neutral, the body will not be banned. For example, in the Space 1889 campaign, the Martians will generally avoid Venus, Earth, Luna, all the moons of Jupiter, and all the moons of Saturn. They will still survey the Trojan asteroids, and they still may pass close to the banned bodies on an unrelated missions. A small note from Steve. It looked at various ways of applying this in reverse. The NPR would generate a list of important planets and check for player race ships within a certain range, perhaps 10 million kilometers. If they were detected, that would trigger a response, even if the NPR would otherwise not object to the player being in the system. The problem is that the player would have to be checking each ship path to ensure that didn't happen. He even added a code to avoid the problem by only flagging player ships that remained within 10 million in 2 consecutive construction phases, but even that is not foolproof. Essentially, the player knows the NPR is trying to avoid its populations and will react to NPR movements accordingly, but understanding that is much more difficult for the AI. In the end, the gameplay benefit is outweighed by the considerable micromanagement required on the part of the player, or by the amount of code that will be needed to avoid accidentally passing through restricted zones. In most situations, the player would want to avoid being detected anyway, so this situation would usually only be relevant when a truce countdown is in effect and the player and the NPR share the same home system. The player can RP that situation if, and as, and when needed. So, so the AI will not actively respond in a similar manner to its own points of interest. So, a little bit unfortunate, but at least AI is going to stop coming around for cups of tea. Alright, next up. In C# Aurora, transponders have 3 modes, off, friendly, and all. So basically just friendly has been added. A transponder set to friendly will only be detected by friendly or allied races. A transponder set to all will be visible to all races, even hostile ones. Civilian shipping will have transponders set to friendly. Why would you ever want this? Well, roleplay, obviously. No other real function outside of it. Next for today, player race banned bodies. Player races can ban bodies in the same way as an NPR. Unlike an NPR, the player can select which bodies are banned. This is done via a toggle on the system view. There is an option to unban all moons of a planet at once. Civilians will not create mining colonies on banned bodies, and survey ships with standing orders will not attempt to conduct geological surveys on those bodies. It is still possible the player's ship will approach due to other considerations, such as moving between 2 points unrelated. Note this is different to a military restriction, which applies only to the interaction of civilian shipping lines and existing populations. This player banned bodies function is mainly for role-playing purposes, as NPRs react to a player presence in the system, rather than in proximity to a specific body, although it could also be used to prevent the creation of civilian mining colonies. So, being able to prevent civilian mining colonies has never really been a concern, because you can always just drop a colony on there. But this just makes it a little bit easier with not having stacks and stacks of colonies scattered around in your list. So I guess that's useful there. And also not attempting geological surveying. So if you know that there's a NPR colony somewhere, you can ban it, and that'll stop your survey ships from entering orbit and pissing them off. So yeah, it's nice to have it, I guess. That's fine. Shipping line names. You can rename shipping lines in C# Aurora. Just click on the admin command that represents the shipping line on the Naval Organization window and click rename. You provide a full name for the shipping line and a short name for the ship naming. Sure, useful for RP, but most people probably won't use it. Okay, a very, very incredibly important note next. Screen resolution. So, as everyone knows, VB6 windows cannot be resized, and they are a fixed size. This makes it incredibly difficult to play on smaller resolution screens, and specifically laptop screens. Don't know what it is with laptops, they just get weird. So, C# Aurora will launch with a minimum resolution of 1440 by 900. The windows will not be resizable except for the tactical map and the galactic map, and even in that case, it is because those windows are intended to fill the whole screen. The class design window has a wide option that takes it to about 1800 by 900. So, a little bit disappointing, but it should at least help, because at least it's not 1080. Yeah, I mean, I distinctly remember Steve talking about making screens resizable. May have been a long time ago, a couple of years now, I think. It's a little bit sad that that wasn't implemented. I don't know. Maybe he can add it in later on down the road. But at the end of the day, Steve designs the windows to fit his screens, and the fact that they're available at 1440 by 900 instead of pure 1080 is at least hopefully a silver lining. Bit of a mixed bag on that one. I think a lot of people will gain benefit of it. That's not in dispute. But yeah, would have liked to see this go a little bit further is all. Alright, next up, group contacts. Similar contacts can be grouped in C# Aurora. This is done via a checkbox on the tactical map sidebar entitled Group Contacts. This is similar in concept to the hide active IDs in VB6 Aurora, but implemented a little differently. When group contact is active, any contacts with the same alien ship type, the same current coordinates, the same coordinates from the previous increment, the same active sensor emissions, and the same contact status will be grouped together. The 001, 002, etc. suffix of the normal contact string will be replaced by a prefix showing how many contacts in the group. If there is only one contact in the location, the grouping is ignored and the normal contact information is displayed. As you can see, it's a pretty significant difference. So from a tall stack to a nice short stack, which is good, which is really good, because now we don't have to permanently hide the civilian shipping, because they're sitting on Earth and pushing all of your own fleet names off the top of the screen. That's good. They're going to need a lot of very different designs to do that now. So, yeah, this is a very awesome change. I love it. Next up, Lost Contacts. The Lost Contacts 1 month checkbox will update the TAC map to display any ship contacts less than 1 month old, rather than the default of current contacts only. This is more sophisticated than the VB6 equivalent, and it will also provide more information on current contacts where available. For example, you may be currently tracking an alien ship by its thermal emissions only, but you had an active contact a week ago. When Lost Contacts is active, you will see both the current thermal contact combined with the older active contact. Any ship contact that is only visible because of the lost contact option will display lost after the contact information. A ship contact with a combination of current and older information will display partial after the contact information. There is also a lost contacts 1 year checkbox which functions exactly as above except for the period of time. If both boxes are checked, 1 year takes priority. Here we have a couple of screenshots with current system map with and without lost contacts option active. The hegemony of Titan ships near the bottom only appear when lost contacts is active. The Venusian fighters at the top left are present in both screenshots, but have more information available when lost contacts is active. So we can see here that it makes it a little bit more clear as to what's actually current and what's not. So that's good. Lost contacts can be combined with group contacts. Here are 2 screenshots of Martian ships in orbit of Mars with group contacts active. Lost contacts is active in this second screenshot. So, yeah. I like there's an expansion of the lost contacts, which just leaves permanent old contacts sitting around your map. It is a good change. I think people will get used out of it, and yeah, that'll be good. Okay, that is it for today. We are done with page 15. Tomorrow is the end of March and the end of the change list, unless Steve drops more changes further on. But tomorrow will be the last episode of the Hype Train. We will be arriving at our destination. So from that point on, if you would like to keep track of the changes, assuming that release that hasn't dropped within a couple of days after that, then yeah, you're going to have to keep an eye on it yourself. Unless maybe Steve fills out an entire page 17. Hope not. That means he's been working on it for another month probably. Ah well. Down below, still links to the official Aurora Discord, Reddit, and forums where you can join the discussion and the hype and wait the release. And I will see you next time.